Have you ever stopped to think that the door that closed in your life, the opportunity that slipped through your fingers, the relationship that ended without you understanding why, might not have been a punishment? What if I told you that God is closing doors in your life at this very moment, not as punishment but as divine protection? Librans, pay close attention to what I'm about to reveal, because this video can completely change the way you see the closures that have been happening around you. Do you know that feeling when everything is going wrong at once? When the things you've always wanted just don't happen no matter how hard you try? Well, there's a powerful spiritual reason behind it. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, is working in your favor in a way your eyes can't yet see. And I know how hard it is to trust when everything seems to crumble, when your plans seem to unravel like sand through your fingers. But here's the truth that few dare to speak. Not every closed door is a loss, and not every yes from fate is a true blessing. Today you will discover 9 clear, unmistakable signs that God is closing doors in your life not to hinder you, but to save you from paths that would lead you straight to suffering. You will understand why certain people left your life, why that job didn't work out, why that project didn't move forward. And even more importantly, you will learn to recognize when a closed door is actually a divine deliverance disguised as frustration. Because here is the secret that few understand. The universe closes what needs to be closed to open what you truly deserve. And Libra, you deserve much more than you have accepted so far. Sign 1. You feel an inexplicable restlessness in certain situations. Libra, pay attention to this first sign because it is one of the most subtle, but also one of the most powerful. When God is closing a door to protect you, the first warning he sends is through a strange feeling in your chest, a restlessness that you can't explain logically. You know that situation that seemed perfect on paper but something inside you felt uneasy? That job opening that was everything you wanted, but you felt strangely uncomfortable during the interview? That person everyone around you said was wonderful, but you simply couldn't relax in their presence? This restlessness is the voice of God speaking directly to your soul. It's your guardian angel sounding the internal alarm, trying to warn you that there's something in that situation that your physical eyes can't see. And here's the interesting part about Librans. You are ruled by Venus, the planet of harmony and balance. This means that when something is energetically wrong, even if it seems right on the surface, your internal alarm system goes off more intensely than it does with other signs. You feel it in your skin, in your stomach, in your heart. It's as if every cell in your body is screaming, "Be careful, this isn't the way to go." But you know what the problem is? Most of the time you ignore that sign, because your logical mind kicks in and starts questioning, why would I be feeling this way if everything seems so good? Why would I be uncomfortable if this is exactly the opportunity one asked for? And then you force the situation, you procrastinate, you try to convince yourself that everything is fine. You silence that inner voice because you don't want to seem irrational. You don't want to miss the chance. You don't want to disappoint the people around you who are rooting for you. Libra, listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you. This restlessness is not weakness, it's not silly fear, it's not your mind creating problems where there are none. It's divine protection in action. It's God energetically closing that door before you even set foot inside because he knows, he sees, he perceives what's hidden between the lines. And when you insist on ignoring this sign, when you force your way through that door that's already being spiritually closed, you're basically saying to the universe, I don't trust your protection, I'm going to put my hand in the fire even knowing I'll get burned. Think about it. How many times in your life have you ignored that strange feeling, and then discovered you should have listened to it? How many times have you entered a situation even feeling that tightness in your chest, and months later regretted it, wishing you had heeded that first warning? The truth is, the universe always warns you. Always. It never lets you fall into a trap without first turning on all possible red lights. But you need to be willing to pay attention, to respect what you are feeling, to trust that there is a greater wisdom working in your favor, even when you don't fully understand why. And look, this restlessness is usually accompanied by other physical symptoms. It could be a headache that appears every time you have to deal with that situation. It could be insomnia the night before an important appointment related to that door. It could be inexplicable tiredness, a fatigue that doesn't go away no matter how much you sleep. Your body is literally trying to hold you back, slow you down, prevent you from moving forward in that direction. Because the body knows, Libra. The body always knows when something is not aligned with your highest good. And when God is closing a door to protect you, he uses all available resources, including your own body, as a messenger. So from today onward, when you feel this unease, instead of questioning or ignoring it, stop and give thanks. Give thanks because God loves you enough to show you that this isn't for you. Give thanks because you are being spared suffering you can't even imagine the magnitude of. And most importantly, respect the signal. Don't force it. Don't insist. Don't try to convince yourself otherwise. When the door is being closed by divine protection, the more you try to force it open, the more you hurt yourself in the process. Sign 2. Obstacles appear repeatedly and inexplicably. Libra, let's talk about the second sign that clearly indicates God is closing a door to protect you. Obstacles that appear out of nowhere, repeatedly. Almost as if the universe were intentionally placing barriers in your path. You know when you try to make something happen and nothing works? You schedule that important meeting and the person cancels at the last minute. You prepare for that trip and an unforeseen event prevents you from going. You're about to close that deal and at the last minute everything falls apart without logical explanation. Most people look at this sequence of obstacles and think, what bad luck, what misfortune, why does everything go wrong for me? But here is the spiritual truth that changes everything. It's not bad luck, it's divine redirection. It's not the universe being cruel to you. It's the universe being your greatest protector. Because here's what happens behind the scenes in the spiritual realm. When you are walking towards something that will harm you, something that will cause you pain or suffering in the future, God begins to place strategic obstacles in your path to make you slow down, rethink, until finally you give up on that path. And look how brilliant this is. Obstacles don't just appear out of nowhere. They arise precisely at key moments at decisive times, when you're about to take a step from which there's no turning back. It's the car breaking down on the very day you were going to sign that dubious contract. It's the phone ringing at the exact moment you were about to say yes to that risky proposal. It's the torrential rain preventing you from going to that meeting that would have changed your life, yes, but for the worse. The universe has perfect timing, Libra. It knows exactly when and how to intervene to save you from yourself. But here's the big challenge, especially for Librans. You are the sign of persistence disguised as diplomacy. When you want something, you don't give up easily. You try again and again and again, always believing that if you insist enough, things will fall into place. And look, that determination is beautiful in many situations. But when applied to a door that God is trying to close, that same determination turns into stubbornness that only brings suffering. Because you keep knocking on a door that the more you knock, the more locked it becomes. Think about how many stories you've heard of people who persisted against all odds and ended up very badly hurt. That relationship that was full of obstacles from the start, but the person persisted and years later was trapped in a toxic relationship. That business partnership that began with 1,000 problems but the person forced it, and months later was losing money and mental health. That move to a new city where everything conspired against them, but the person went anyway, and ended up in a place where they were completely unhappy. The obstacles were warnings. They were doors being closed out of love, out of protection, out of divine mercy. And look at the beauty of God's intelligence. Obstacles usually start small. A delay here, a small setback there. As if the universe were giving you multiple chances to wake up and realize that this isn't for you. But if you keep insisting, ignoring the small signs, the obstacles start to get bigger, more evident, more impossible to ignore. Because God loves you too much to let you get bogged down in a destructive situation. So He increases the volume of the warnings until finally you have no choice but to stop and pay attention. Libra, when you realize you're encountering obstacle after obstacle in a particular situation, stop fighting against it. Stop seeing it as a test of your strength or your faith. Sometimes the greatest demonstration of faith is recognizing that God is closing that door because He has prepared something better for you elsewhere. Sometimes the miracle isn't the door opening after you've insisted 1,000 times. The miracle is having the wisdom to recognize that that door needs to remain closed for your own good. If this message resonated with your zodiac sign, trust me, it's no coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it sends exactly the right signal. And you're here because you needed to hear this today. Your contribution as a subscriber or member is what keeps these messages alive. Messages that touch, awaken, and transform lives. And if this video made sense to you, leave your birth date in the comments. Now let's continue with our video. Sign 3. Important people leave your life without warning. Libra, this third sign is one of the most painful to recognize, but also one of the most important. When God is closing a door to protect you, He removes people from your life, sometimes abruptly, without warning, without any explanation that makes sense. It could be that friendship of years that suddenly cools and ends. It could be that business partner who simply decides to leave the project. It could be that love you thought was forever and that leaves you without looking back. And the pain of this, Libra, I know it's immense. Because for you who value relationships so much, who invest so much in human connections, losing someone is like losing a piece of yourself. But here is the spiritual truth that will set you free. Not every departure is a loss, and not every person who leaves should have stayed. Sometimes God needs to remove certain people from your life because they are preventing you from getting where you need to be. Sometimes that person you love so much is exactly the weight that is keeping you down, even if neither you nor they consciously realize it. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, knows when a connection has ceased to be nourishing and has become limiting. When a relationship has stopped lifting you up and has started pulling you down. And here's how it works. Generally, before the person completely leaves, God gives you signs that that connection is no longer aligned with your purpose. You start to feel that the conversations have become superficial, that you can no longer be yourself around that person, that there's a discomfort that didn't exist before. You realize that the friendship that once energized you now leaves you exhausted. You notice that the relationship that was once light now feels like a heavy obligation. These are subtle warnings that the cycle has come to an end, that it's time to let go, that God is preparing the ground to remove that person from your life. But you know what happens? You, with your giant Libra heart and your immense difficulty in cutting ties, ignore all these signs. You try to save the friendship, fix the relationship, maintain the connection at any cost. You blame yourself, question yourself, try even harder, thinking that if you are better, more present, more understanding, the person will stay. You don't understand that God is trying to free you, that He is closing that door of relationship because on the other side there is something much better waiting for you, but you cannot receive the new while you are still clinging to the old. And then comes the moment of rupture. The person leaves, sometimes in a way that leaves you confused, hurt, without answers that satisfy your Libra need for justice and balance. You're left wondering, what did I do wrong? Why did this happen? How could something that seemed so solid crumble so quickly? And in that moment of pain, you can't see that it's not rejection, it's redirection. It's not abandonment, it's liberation. It's not God being cruel. It's God being a loving Father who removes from your life what was hindering your spiritual growth. Libra, here's what you need to understand. Every person who leaves your life creates space for someone better to enter. Every connection that ends releases energy for more aligned connections to form. And when God removes someone from your journey, it's not because you don't deserve company. It's because you deserve better company, more genuine company, more aligned with who you are becoming. That person who left? They belong to the old version of you. The person who is arriving, they will connect with the evolved version, the stronger version, the version you can only become after certain people leave. And there's more. Often, the person who leaves was a direct obstacle to a blessing that's trying to reach you. Think about that toxic friendship that kept you trapped in destructive patterns, preventing you from meeting people who would truly do you good. Think about that romantic relationship that consumed all your energy, preventing you from being available when true love appeared. Think about that professional partnership that kept you stuck in mediocre projects, preventing you from accepting incredible opportunities. God needed to close that door on that relationship so He could open the door to the blessing He has prepared for you. So when someone important leaves your life, cry if you need to cry, feel the pain if the pain comes, but deep in your heart, give thanks. Give thanks because God loves you so much that He won't allow you to remain trapped in connections that limit your potential. Give thanks because He is closing that door of a relationship with so much love that He doesn't even need your permission, because He knows that if it depended on you, you would stay there forever trying to make something work that was never meant to last. Sign 4. Your plans fall apart despite all your effort. Libra, let's talk about the fourth sign that reveals God is closing a door to protect you. That devastating moment when your plans simply crumble, even though you did everything right, even though you tried your hardest, even though you planned every detail perfectly. You know that project you worked on for months that didn't work out at the last minute? That dream you nurtured for years that suddenly proved impossible? That future you had so clearly in your mind that simply didn't materialize the way you imagined? And the frustration that comes with this, Libra, is one of the deepest there is. Because you did your part. You dedicated yourself, you sacrificed, you gave up other things, you invested time, energy, money, your heart. You believed with all your soul. And even so, it didn't work. Even so, the door closed in your face. And you're left there amidst the rubble of your shattered plans, wondering, what's the point of trying? Why did I try so hard if in the end it came to nothing? Is God testing me or punishing me? But here's the truth that will revolutionize how you see plans that didn't work out. God didn't destroy your plans out of cruelty. He prevented them from coming to fruition out of mercy. Because that path that seemed so perfect in your mind, that future you had so well planned, that destiny you thought was right for you, was actually going to lead you to a place of suffering you can't even imagine. And God, who sees not only the present but also the future, saw where that plan was going to lead you and decided to spare you the pain. Think about it. How many times in your life have you looked back and given thanks because something you desperately wanted didn't happen? How many times have you realized years later that if that plan had worked out, you would be in a much worse place than you are today? How many times have you clearly seen that God saved you from yourself by preventing your plans from coming to fruition? This isn't theory, Libra. This is the real experience of those who learn to trust that God's plans are always bigger and better than our own. And look at the beauty of it. When your plans fall apart, it's not the end of the story, it's a redirection of the story. It's God taking the script you wrote and saying, "This is good, but I have something much better in store for you. But for that you need to let go of this plan that won't take you where you need to go." It's as if you were insisting on following an old and outdated map, and God needed to tear up that map to force you to use His GPS, which knows shortcuts you didn't even imagine existed. But the difficulty, especially for Librans who love control disguised as planning, is accepting that you're not in complete command of your life. It's hard to let go of the reins. It's hard to trust that the plan being destroyed needed to be destroyed. It's hard to have faith that something better is being built, while you're still crying over the rubble of what didn't work out. Because God's timing rarely coincides with our timing. We want to see the new door open the instant the old door closes. But it doesn't work that way. Sometimes God closes the door and leaves you for a while in the empty hallway, in uncertainty, in not knowing precisely, so that you learn to trust Him regardless of the circumstances. And you know what else? Often the plan that fell apart was good, but it wasn't the best. It was a mediocre version of the blessing God truly wants to give you. It was enough, but God doesn't want you to live in enough. He wants you to live in abundance. It was acceptable, but God didn't create you for an acceptable life. He created you for an extraordinary life. So He needed to prevent you from settling for good in order to give you excellent. He needed to close the door to the reasonable in order to open the door to the incredible. Libra, when your plans crumble, don't despair. Don't question your worth. Don't think you did something wrong. Understand that God is redirecting you because He sees what you don't see. He is closing that door with so much love and care, even if at the moment it seems like rejection and abandonment. And most importantly, don't try to rebuild what God destroyed. Don't try to resurrect the plan He ended. Because if God closed it, it's because it wasn't meant to be. And if it wasn't meant to be, insisting on it will only keep you trapped in a place that isn't yours, preventing you from reaching the place that was truly prepared for you. Sign 5. You inexplicably lose interest in something that previously motivated you. Libra, the fifth sign that God is closing a door to protect you is extremely subtle, but powerful. You begin to lose interest, motivation, and passion for something that once meant everything to you. It could be that job you loved that suddenly became burdensome and uninteresting. It could be that project that excited you and now seems like a boring obligation. It could be that goal that used to get you out of bed in the morning and now no longer motivates you. And the confusion this brings is enormous because you ask yourself, what is happening to me? Why have I changed? Did I give up? Am I weak? But here is the profound spiritual truth. When God is preparing you to leave a place, a situation, a path, one of the first things He does is remove your passion for it. He extinguishes the fire in your heart regarding that door that needs to be closed. Because God knows that you, Libra, with all your loyalty and commitment, would never leave a place while you still felt an emotional connection to it. You would endure the unbearable, you would tolerate the unbearable, only because your heart would still be trapped there. So God, in His wisdom, first frees your heart, then frees the rest of you. And look how brilliant this is. The loss of interest doesn't come as a conscious decision on your part. It's not you waking up one day and deciding you don't want anymore. It's something that happens gradually, almost without you realizing it. You notice that the meeting that once excited you now bores you. You realize that the environment that once energized you now drains you. You feel that the activity that was once pleasurable has become mechanical. It's as if the universe is subtly disconnecting the emotional threads that bound you to that situation, facilitating your future departure. But you know what the problem is? You fight against this loss of interest. You try to force the motivation back. You blame yourself for not feeling what you used to feel. You think there's something wrong with you, that you're being ungrateful, that you should be more grateful for what you have. And then you get stuck in a place your spirit has already abandoned, just because your mind hasn't yet understood that it's time to go. You keep making the moves, fulfilling the obligations, showing up physically, but your heart and soul have been gone for a long time. Libra, this loss of interest is a gift, not a failure. It's God emotionally releasing you from something that needs to stay in the past, so you can embrace the future He has prepared for you. It's His gentle way of showing you that that door, that path, that situation has fulfilled its purpose in your life, and now it's time to move on. Because think about it, it would be much more painful if God closed a door you were still emotionally invested in. It would be heartbreaking if He tore you away from a place you still loved with all your heart. So He does things differently. He first cools your heart regarding that situation. He first de-embraces that path. He first removes your emotional need from that place. And when the door finally closes physically, externally, you are already prepared internally. You have already let go. You no longer want it. And what could have been a tragedy becomes just a natural transition, almost a relief. You finally allow yourself to leave where your spirit had already left long ago. And there's another important aspect to this. The loss of interest is usually accompanied by the emergence of new interests. While you're losing passion for one thing, you're gaining curiosity and excitement for another. It's as if God is changing the batteries in your heart, redirecting your emotional energy from the old to the new. You start to become interested in subjects that never caught your attention before. You feel the urge to learn different things. You find yourself thinking about possibilities that never even crossed your mind before. This is no coincidence, Libra. It's God planting seeds for your future while harvesting the plants of your past. So when you realize you're losing interest in something that was once important to you, don't force it. Don't try to convince yourself that you still want it. Don't blame yourself for changing. Understand that God is preparing you for a change of direction. He is closing that door in your heart first, so that when it closes in real life, you'll already be ready to move forward without looking back with longing or regret. Trust the process. Trust that the loss of interest is divine protection in action, freeing you from being stuck in places that no longer serve you. Sign 6. Financial circumstances are preventing you from moving forward. Libra, let's talk about the 6th sign, and this one touches on one of the most sensitive points for any human being: money. When God is closing a door to protect you, one of the most common ways He uses is through financial blockages. Suddenly, that investment you were going to make doesn't materialize because the money didn't appear. That change you planned becomes impossible because unexpected expenses arose. That business that seemed perfect doesn't get off the ground because the financial resources simply don't align. And the frustration this causes is enormous because in the world we live in, we've been taught that money is power, and not having money means not having a choice. But here is the liberating spiritual truth. When God blocks your financial resources for a specific situation, He is not impoverishing you. He is saving you from a bad investment. He is not limiting you. He is protecting you from spending your hard-earned money on something that would bring you greater harm than you imagine. Because here is the secret that few understand. Not every expense is an investment, and not every opportunity that requires money is truly an opportunity. Sometimes what seems like a great deal is actually a bottomless pit disguised as a unique chance. And look how God works in this. He doesn't simply make the money disappear from your life. What happens is that other financial demands arise precisely at the moment when you are going to use that money to enter that wrong door. The car breaks down. An appliance burns out. An unexpected bill arrives. A family member needs help. And you're left there outraged thinking, right now? Just when I was going to do what I wanted so much. But it's not bad luck, Libra. It's the universe diverting your resources from loss to keep you financially secure. Because think about it. How many stories have you heard of people who went into debt to invest in something that seemed incredible and ended up losing everything? How many cases do you know of people who spent their life savings on opportunities that turned out to be scams? How many times have you yourself regretted spending money on something that ultimately wasn't worth it? Now imagine if, before all these situations, God had created a financial barrier that prevented the person from getting into that mess. Would it be received as a blessing or as frustration? At the moment, of course, as frustration, but later with time as salvation. And there's another important aspect here. Financial hardship also serves as a test of your faith and trust. Because it's easy to trust God when you have money in the bank and all doors are open. The challenge is to trust when you have no resources and doors are closing. It is at this moment that you discover whether your faith is grounded in God or grounded in your bank account. It is at this time that you learn that your security does not come from how much you have saved, but from who is taking care of you behind the scenes. Libra, you who value stability and financial security so much, need to understand that sometimes God allows temporary financial discomfort to save you from a permanent financial catastrophe. He closes the money tap for that specific situation not because he doesn't want you to prosper, but because he wants you to truly prosper sustainably, and not through paths that seem like shortcuts but are actually dangerous detours. He is teaching you financial discernment, showing you that not all that glitters is gold, that not every opportunity is divine just because it appeared. And look at the wisdom in this. While God closes the financial door for one thing, he usually opens the financial door for another. You realize that the money doesn't come for that project you wanted, but suddenly appears for something different that you hadn't even considered. You notice that the resources don't align for that purchase, but appear exactly in the right measure for a true need. It's as if God is educating you on where to put your energy and resources, showing you in practice what deserves your investment and what doesn't. So when you encounter a financial blockage, before you despair or force the situation by going into debt or doing crazy things, stop and ask God, are you protecting me from something? Is this door that's closed due to lack of resources a door that needs to stay closed? And then wait. Observe. If over time the resources naturally align, perhaps it's the right moment. But if the blockage persists, if the money continues not to appear for that specific reason, accept that God is telling you this not out of love, not out of punishment, and thank Him for taking care of even your finances. Sign 7. You receive repeated advice from different sources. Libra, the seventh sign that God is closing a door to protect you comes through the people around you. You start receiving the same advice, the same warning, the same message from different people at different times, without these people having coordinated anything with each other. It could be your mother telling you to be careful in that situation. It could be your best friend questioning whether that's really good for you. It could even be a stranger making a random comment that seems to speak directly to your heart. And when this happens 3, 4, 5 times, it's no longer a coincidence, Libra. It's God using human voices to give you the warning you need to hear. Because here's the truth. God rarely appears in a cloud of fire to speak to you directly. He is much more subtle than that. He uses the people He has placed in your life as messengers. He touches someone's heart to tell you exactly what you need to hear at the right time. And when several people, independently of each other, begin to warn you about the same thing, it's because God is trying to break through your resistance, trying to overcome your stubbornness, shouting through multiple voices because you weren't listening when He whispered. But you know what the problem is? You, with your Libran mind that likes to weigh pros and cons, start to dismiss the advice. You think, oh, but this person doesn't understand my situation. Or, so-and-so is being negative, they always see the bad side of things. Or even, people are envious, they don't want to see me grow. And you keep creating justifications to ignore the warnings because deep down you've already decided what you want to do. And any contrary advice becomes just inconvenient noise that you need to filter out. Libra, listen carefully. When everyone around you is telling you the same thing, when people who love you and people who barely know you come to the same conclusion, when even those who don't usually interfere in your life feel compelled to warn you, maybe, just maybe, they are seeing something you are blind to. Maybe they are the instruments God is using to lead you away from a dangerous path. Maybe the repeated message is the last divine warning before the door closes so traumatically that you won't be able to ignore it. And look at God's compassion in this. He doesn't send the message just once and that's it. He insists. He repeats it. He uses different people, different approaches, different moments, all to give you multiple chances to wake up. It's as if He were knocking on the door of your heart several times, with infinite patience, waiting for you to finally open it and pay attention. Because He knows you're stubborn, that you're determined, that when you get an idea in your head it's hard to get it out. So He sends not 1 but 10, 15, 20 messages through different people. And there's more. The messages usually come from unlikely sources. It's not just your mother who always worries too much. It's that absent-minded colleague who never says anything serious. It's that person you barely know but who stops you on the street to say something. It's even random content you see on the internet that seems to be speaking directly to you. When the universe wants to warn you, it uses any available channel. And the more you ignore it, the more unusual the channels become. Because God is trying in every possible way to break through your bubble of stubbornness. So here's what you need to do. When you realize you're receiving the same advice from multiple sources, stop trying to dismiss the messages. Stop looking for reasons to ignore the warnings. Stop and ask yourself with brutal honesty, are all these people wrong and only I am right? Is the universe trying to warn me about something and I'm refusing to listen? And then have the humility to consider that maybe, just maybe, God is speaking through those voices, closing that door through the repeated advice, protecting you from a mistake you are about to make with all your good intentions but terrible judgment. If this message resonated with your zodiac sign, trust me, it's no coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it sends exactly the right signal, and you're here because you needed to hear this today. Your contribution as a subscriber or member is what keeps these messages alive. Messages that touch, awaken, and transform lives. And if this video made sense to you, leave your birth date in the comments. Sign 8. Your dreams and intuitions constantly alert you. Libra, the 8th sign that God is closing a door to protect you happens in the world of dreams and intuition. You start having disturbing dreams related to that situation, or your intuition keeps screaming that something is wrong, even if logically everything seems right. It could be a recurring dream where that decision ends badly. It could be nightmares that leave you restless all night. It could be that strong premonition, that tightness in your stomach, that inner voice that won't shut up saying, "Don't do that, don't go there, don't accept that proposal." And here's what you need to understand about dreams and intuition. They are the direct language of your soul, the channel of communication that God uses when your conscious mind is too busy to listen. During the day, you are involved with logical thoughts, practical reasoning, rational justifications. But at night, when you sleep, your mental defenses lower and the divine can speak more clearly to you through the symbols and messages of dreams. And intuition, Libra, is that spiritual GPS that is always on, always picking up signals, always trying to guide you away from danger. But do you know what happens most of the time? You wake up from that disturbing dream and instead of paying attention, you dismiss it as nonsense, like pizza that didn't go down well, like everyday stress. That strong intuition that tells you not to do something, you label as irrational fear, as insecurity, as a lack of courage. And then you ignore the warnings your own spirit is giving you, because society has taught you to trust only what is logical, what makes rational sense, what can be explained with words and arguments. But Libra, not everything that is real can be logically explained. Not all truth fits into a spreadsheet of pros and cons. There are things your spirit knows before your mind understands. There is an intuitive wisdom that comes from a place deeper than reasoning. And when God wants to protect you from something, He doesn't wait for you to have all the logical proof of the danger. He simply sounds the alarm of your intuition. He plants disturbing dreams in your subconscious. He makes your body react physically to dangerous situations, even if you can't consciously explain why. And there's an important detail. Dreams and intuition usually come before concrete facts. You dream that something will go wrong weeks before it actually does. You feel you can't trust someone months before they betray you. You have a strong premonition about a situation long before the evidence appears. It's as if God gives you a foresight of the future, as if He shows you the movie trailer before the movie premieres, giving you the chance to choose not to watch it if you don't like what you saw in the trailer. But of course, this requires something difficult from you. Trusting something you can't prove, believing in what you feel even without solid evidence, changing direction based on a dream or a hunch and not on rational analysis. And this goes against everything society has taught you. You were taught to be practical, to be logical, not to make decisions based on feelings. But what if your feelings, your intuition, your dreams are precisely the most reliable compass you have? What if God chose to speak to you through these channels precisely because they are the only ones your controlling mind hasn't yet learned to manipulate? Librans, from today onward, pay attention to your dreams. Write them down. See if there are any patterns, any recurring messages. And above all, honor your intuition. When that inner voice tells you not to do something, don't do it. Even if you can't explain why to anyone. Even if people call you crazy, cowardly, irrational. Because that voice is God protecting you. That premonition is a door being closed before you enter and get hurt. And trusting in that, even without proof, is an act of faith that will save you from countless problems you never even knew about because you were wise enough to heed the warning before the disaster happened. Sign 9. You feel an inexplicable peace when you give up. Libra, we've reached the 9th and final sign, and this one is perhaps the most powerful of all. When God is closing a door to protect you, you feel an inexplicable, almost supernatural peace the moment you finally decide to give up on that situation. It's as if a giant weight has been lifted from your shoulders. It's as if you can finally take a deep breath after months of holding it. It's a feeling of relief so profound that you didn't even know you needed it, because you were so used to the tension that you no longer realized how heavy it was. And this peace, Libra, is divine confirmation that you made the right decision. Because think about it. If that door was meant to be open, if that path was truly the right one for you, giving it up would bring you anguish, despair, and immediate regret. You would be tormented, questioning your choice, feeling like you made a terrible mistake. But when the door you let go of was a door that God was trying to close, the opposite happens. A peace that surpasses all understanding, a feeling of finally being aligned with the flow of the universe instead of fighting against it. Because here's the truth. Resisting what God is trying to close in your life is exhausting. It's like swimming against the current. It's like pushing a rock uphill. You expend an absurd amount of energy trying to keep open a door that the universe is trying to close, and this leaves you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually drained. You live tense, anxious, always on the defensive, always trying to control 1,000 variables at once. And when you finally let go, when you finally stop fighting and accept the closure, it's as if you finally allow the river to carry you instead of trying to row in the opposite direction. And look at the beauty of this peace. It comes even when externally nothing has changed yet. You let go of that situation and your life continues the same at that moment. The problems don't magically disappear. The circumstances don't transform overnight. But internally everything changes. You feel a lightness you haven't felt in months, maybe years. You sleep better that night than you have in weeks. You wake up the next day with a mental clarity you had forgotten was possible. Because you stopped fighting with God. You stopped resisting His plan. You finally surrendered, and in surrender you found freedom. But here's the challenge. To feel that peace, you first need to take the step of letting go. And letting go is terrifying when you don't know what comes next. It's scary to close a door when you don't yet see the next one opening. It's hard to trust that the peace you will feel is worth more than the false security of clinging to the familiar, even if the familiar is hurting you. But that's exactly what faith demands of you. To take the step before you see the ground, to let go of the branch before you know where it will fall, to trust that God will catch you even if you don't yet understand how. And you know what else? This peace isn't passive, it's not defeatist resignation. It's not giving up on life or your dreams. It's the opposite. It's you finally aligning your will with divine will. It's you stopping wasting energy on battles that aren't yours to fight. It's you creating inner space so that the right things, the true plans, the real blessings can enter. Because you can't receive the new while your hands are busy holding tightly to the old. You can't embrace the future while you're embracing the past. And the peace that comes when you let go is God saying, "Very well, now you are ready for what I have prepared for you." Libra, if you are currently clinging to something with all your might, but feeling like you are losing the battle, try an experiment. Just for a moment, imagine what it would be like if you let go. Imagine the feeling of finally stopping the fight, of accepting closure, of trusting that God knows what He is doing. And if just imagining this already brings you a little relief, a little peace, it's because your spirit knows it's time to let go. It's because God is showing you that on the other side of surrender there is no disaster, there is freedom. There is no defeat. There is victory of a different kind, deeper, more real. And when you finally let go, when you finally allow that door to close, pay attention to the peace that will come. Let it confirm that you made the right choice. Let it show you that trusting in God is not naivete. It's wisdom. And let it give you the strength to patiently wait for the new doors that will open. Because now you have inner space, renewed energy, and spiritual alignment to truly enjoy the blessings that are on their way. Libra, we have reached the end of this powerful journey through the 9 signs that God is closing doors in your life not as punishment, but for divine protection. And now I want you to pause and reflect honestly. How many of these signs are you seeing in your life right now? How many doors are you trying to force open while the universe is clearly trying to close them? How many times have you ignored the restlessness, the obstacles, the people leaving, the crumbling plans, the loss of interest, the financial blockages, the repeated advice, the screaming intuition, All because you were determined to do things your way. The truth, my dear Libra, is that life becomes infinitely easier when you learn to flow with what God is doing instead of resisting. When you stop seeing closed doors as rejection and start seeing them as redirection. When you understand that every divine no is protecting you from a yes that would destroy you. Because God doesn't close doors to limit you, He closes doors to set you free. He doesn't take things from your life to impoverish you. He takes them to make room for what is infinitely better. So from today onward, I challenge you to do things differently. The next time a door closes in your face, instead of panicking or forcing it open, stop and give thanks. Give thanks because God loves you so much that He won't let you go into places that will hurt you. Give thanks because you are being protected from things you didn't even know were dangerous. Give thanks because while that door closes, others are preparing to open, and those will take you exactly where you need to be. And here is the promise I leave with you. If you begin to respect the doors that God closes, if you stop fighting against divine closures, if you trust the process even without fully understanding it, you will begin to see miracles happening in your life. You will look back in a few months or years and be deeply grateful for those doors that didn't open. You will realize that you were saved from destructive relationships, from failed business deals, from paths that would have led you to rock bottom. And you will finally understand that the greatest sign of God's love is not when He says yes, but when He has the courage to say no because He sees what you don't see. If this video touched your heart, if these words resonated with you, I want to ask you one thing. Subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Because here in this space we speak spiritual truths that have the power to transform lives. We don't bring superficial content. We bring messages that reach deep into the soul and provoke real change. And if you feel in your heart that these messages are making a difference in your life, consider becoming a channel member. Your contribution is what allows us to continue producing this content that awakens, illuminates, and liberates. And now I want to hear from you. Leave your birth date in the comments. And also tell me, which of these 9 signs resonated most with you? Which one made you look at your life and think, this is exactly what is happening to me now? Let's create a community of Librans who are learning to trust the doors that God closes, who are choosing faith instead of fear, who are willing to let go of control and let the divine guide them. Always remember, you are not alone on this journey. Every door that closes is a deliverance. Every no you receive is protection. And every time you trust in God, even without understanding, you are planting seeds of future blessings that will bloom at the right time, in the right way, in the exact measure you need. So take a deep breath, let go of what needs to be let go, and trust that the best is yet to come. Because when God closes a door, He is always preparing something greater on the other side. A kiss on the heart, and until the next video.